Well, welcome back to Rise and Shine this Thursday morning, September the 4th. Yes, a lot is happening on the island and a lot is happening around us. And looking at the news, was it yesterday when I was I was trying to get the results for the Guyana's election, and I'm like, Guyana, whoever is at the helm of Guyana would definitely have their work cut out in terms of managing how this oil discovery and how they're dealing with their economy and stuff. And I was like, coming back home with all of the geopolitics taking place, what kind of impact it would have on our economy and how our leaders would manage it. But nevertheless, this morning we have Mr. Curtis Williams from the Tobago division of the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce. He's with us to tell us all that is happening in terms of the implications with all the geopolitics. And then a little later on, we'll talk about the mentorship program that the Chamber is doing. Good morning.
Hi, good morning to your viewers and listeners. It's a pleasure being here, Mr. Cox.
So, I mean, it's not surprising that a number of persons are speaking out on some of the geopolitics that is taking place around us. But before I get into the US-Venezuela situation, there's a US visa bond or something to that extent. Can you explain exactly what this US visa bond is and how it may or may not impact us?
Well, Mr. Cox, what's happening in the U.S. is that a lot of citizens from Trinidad and Tobago go up to the U.S. and they overstay their time. And so the U.S. decided, well, how can we assist in this process? So what they decided to do is impose a bond on certain countries coming up to applying for the U.S. visa. Luckily, Trinidad and Tobago is not on that list as yet. We're not a direct threat to the U.S., but there are some other Caribbean island that is on that list that poses some sort of threat to the U.S. by their citizens not coming back. So even though you're granted a tourist visa to visit or a business visa to visit a particular time and purpose, when they go there and say, wow, I'm in the U.S. now, hey, let me go and make some little money. This happened a long time, Mr. Cox. Let's be real in Trinidad and Tobago. We used to go up there and work for the little 6 months and come back, and you go on a babysit and see about somebody in some home and collect a little U.S. and come back. I see a lot of people do that when I was younger. I choose not to go that direction, but it's something that most of us did. I can remember, if I recall, we would go to the U.S. and they give you 6 months, and we spend nearly the full 6 months, and we do a little thing on the side, whether it's a trade, and we make a little money, and we come back home. Let's do bow our heads into the sand. That's what we used to do. Some of us would decide, well, hey, you see, me ain't coming back, this thing's sweet. I'm making US dollars, so I ain't coming back. So I go in and do what everybody else and hide away. And that is what's happening now. Those folks are affecting the folks like now upcoming who now want to go for a visa and realize that you have this restriction, which is a bond. They tell you to take out this bond. The bond could be 5,000 US dollars, 10,000 US dollars, as the case may be. And that bond will be used. So if we had to go and look for you now, or we had to fly you back, so sometimes because when they do find you, you have no money, and the state now, the U.S. government now have to pay your airfare and take care of you and all of that. So they say, no, you had that $5,000 bond, that $10,000 bond. We're going to use that money to fly you back home and to take care of you in the meantime before we get you home. So all we just appealing to the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, please, when you go for your tourist visa or your business visa, you go for your purpose, you state your purpose, and you spend your time, and you come back home so that you allow other citizens, fellow citizens, to do the same thing. If you have to work, there's a process to do that. I've been through the process because I work in the States, Mr. Cox, for 6 years. Yeah. And yes, there's a special visa you could get to work. So I don't see what's the problem. You could apply, get the visa to work, and you work. You work legit.
So this is your work permit?
No, not a work. The visa
permit.
will allow you to work. Yes, the visa will allow you to work. So there are a lot of things that the U.S. have that, so you don't have to hide away and sneak here and running from ICE all over the country, and every time you see one of those black vehicles, because they normally come with some plate vehicles, and they're running and hiding and all crazy. You don't have to do those foolishness. You go to the embassy and you apply like everybody else. You want to go and work, you want to study in the U.S., there are visas to do all of that. And it's accessible to someone like me, it's accessible to everyone. Right? So that's important.
And visas, ladies and gentlemen, not visa. I don't know why we keep saying visa, but that's a different conversation.
All right. Okay.
There was also an announcement that the TT Post made recently concerning the suspension of certain parcels leaving our shores to go to the US. What is the situation with that, and how can that impact the ordinary folk?
Well, I'm glad you said that because I'm into logistics, and I'm one of the agents here for one of the big companies around the world. So we do logistics all the time. So we understand all this importing and the sanctions and the restriction that they put on the parcels. So they call it the minimum. So what happens is that before a parcel to be like 800 US or less,
Right.
it will go through quickly. So there would be no sort of secondary checks and all of that. So that parcel will be going through with less duties or checks. So it's like, is it going through free then? Let me put it that way.
As in an ordinary man, or this is business arrangement?
Well, it was all but small. Remember, small business doing this thing. Remember,
Right.
they used to have this thing called suitcase trade long time. I
Okay.
was involved in that. I had my boutique in Tobago and I had one in Trinidad, so I could tell you about it.
Right.
So we used to have something called suitcase trade where we used to bring down stuff in our suitcase. We call it suitcase trade. So we bring it in our bags. So my bag full with stuff, but the stuff is for trade. And they bring it in, and that's what it used to happen long years ago. And then customs used to clear those in the airport. I
Right.
remember, yes, it used to tell you, are you for trade? Go across, so and then they're going to check, and they're going to say, how much bills you have? And they're going to bring bills, and they go check, okay, side, this is how much you had to pay, and that's good. But now, that to tell you, no, we stop that now. You are bringing goods for trade, you go down in the bond. So send your bag down in the bond, come on next day, or come with your broker to clear that goods. So you're not going to tie up our line of people just coming in the country, going from back and forth. So that was my business years ago. I had those business, electronic and clothing business in Tobago. So I used to do that. Of course, Mr. Cox, I do all business. You know,
Well,
I've
I
been business
tried-
since I was 16. You know.
I sit in here and I try to say, but how much lies Mr. Williams
Yes,
live?
I do business since I was 16 in the market, Scarborough market, selling lettuce and tomatoes. So I could tell you about all of those things. So I'm coming back now to the restriction. So parcels 800 US and less, they used to let them pass. So they're coming into the US and they used to let it pass easy, no problem. But now they're saying, okay, no longer. We're going to charge you now for those parcels. We're going to put a little bit of tariff on it, a little bit of tax on it. And that is what happens now. So folks, I mean, small folks, small business people who trying to import, export, as the case may be, now will have this small tax to pay. And that's why the TT Post now had to adjust, because who going to pay the tax? That's the next thing. Who going to pay it? So by the time we try to settle who going to pay and how we're going to impact on us, TT Post says, me, I stop. So
Because
they don't send it.
And I'm seeing as recent as within the last 24 hours, TT Post actually would have said that TT Post is committed to a resumption in the shortest possible time frame. There are several local and international stakeholders involved, and to protect our customers and the organization, detailed and thorough assessments and consultations are being conducted to secure a resumption. This situation is a temporary one, right? And I know a number of other Caribbean territories were also making their announcements with regards to this update.
Correct.
I'm just thinking, so would persons now flock to other private couriers?
Well, I just said that. TT Post blind ship. We call it blind ship. TT Post is Trinidad and Tobago. How would they get into the US? They have a plane? No. How are they doing logistics? There's no. So what you have a third party acting on your behalf.
Okay.
So parcels leaving Trinidad and Tobago may not go on Caribbean Airline. TT Post don't go to Japan. TT Post, you understand? I mean, Caribbean Airline don't go to Japan. So if TT Post have to send things to Japan, you go to TT Post, I want to send this to China. It's going third party.
Right.
But you don't know that.
Yeah.
Imagine into logistics. You don't know that.
Right.
You know that your parcel going to China and they write TT Post on it and it's going to China and you pay them one fee for it.
Okay.
But behind the scene now, TT Post now had to get a broker, TT Post had to get a carrier and a next handler in another country. And you understand how the process goes, because TT Post is just a local. It comes just like TSTT. We don't do nothing here. TSTT charging for hosting and cloud hosting and all that. We have anything here? No. They're using third parties in all these transactions. So hence the reason why TT Post had to hold up now, because the third parties say, hey, hold the brakes. Let me go and sort out this thing first, and then come back.
And before I shift gears to the US-Venezuela situation, in terms of this particular announcement by the US, this suspension with regards to this TTIP situation, is it related to any of the geopolitics at all, or this is a totally isolated scenario?
Well, it's isolated. It's the same thing when we talk about tariff, when Mr. Trump declared a tariff. And again, tariff is not a bad thing if you understand how it's being applied. And for those who don't understand, tariff is just like a tax. It's just a tax you're putting on import or export. It could be on import and export. And the reason our country may do tariff is because, one, you want to preserve your local people. So, for instance, we planting rice here, and people want to import rice, and I want to protect my local farmers. So what I do, I tell you, all you guys who want to bring in rice, pay me 10% tax on that rice. That's what the government may say. Or they may come and say, well, we want to raise some money, like what they did with online, when they were doing shipping online, and they tell us 7%.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, again, we want to raise some tax, we want to raise some funds, or we want to change habits. You want to change people's habits. You don't want them to do much online shopping. So you tell them, hey, I'm charging an X amount to do that. And that was it. So tariff is not a bad thing based on how it's approached. Now, what Mr. Trump did now, he wanted to change your habit. Again, tariff, we could use that to change people's habits. Right? So I could tell you, listen, I'm going to change, I want you to change your habit, but you're playing stubborn. I will put tariff on you. You're going to change your habit. And that's what we see in some of these instances. So some of these things led to, one, government want to raise funds, or maybe I wanted you to change your habit. And we do the same thing here. We, Trinidad and Tobago, we in the CARICOM, we do the same thing by charging tariff, which is taxes on imported. When you go to customs and you're importing stuff, and you see custom pull up the book, we used to say it's the Bible. They have all the tariffs set there already, percentage that they would charge on certain items coming in the country, whether electronics, whether clothing. So it's a custom officer now to determine whether that item is under what category and charge a respective tariff or tax, as the case may be. Yeah.
Okay, and thanks a lot for that explanation there. Of course, Mr. Curtis Williams from the Tobago Division of the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce is with us this morning. Let's look at the US-Venezuela situation. Is it beginning to have an impact on our trade in Trinidad and Tobago, or is it too early to make such a statement?
No, you have to look at it in a whole holistic manner. If this thing escalates, and you know, everybody does at Grand Charge, and I always say the buffing, you know, everybody's showing how strong I am. So you've seen a lot of videos going out on the social media, on the internet, showing, well, Venezuela have this, and they have this from China, and they have all kind of things coming, and then the US come and say, well, we have this, you have that, we have this, and then we have partners. Venezuela say, well, we have partners. We have partners like China, we have partners like the Russian. So what we're seeing basically happening now is that how this is going to affect businesses, because if this thing escalate now, the normal business, the normal, let's say, supply route will be disturbed. So we mean shipping, even normal flying. Commercial airline will say, hey, we don't want to go into Trinidad, you know, because rocket passing left, right, and center. So we're not going to put our citizens or passengers at risk. So here we ain't going in Trinidad anymore.
If it escalates.
Anymore. Yes, because all these airlines, the minute something happening in Venezuela, between Venezuela, even Guyana, a stray bomb could come straight to Trinidad and come back. You never know. So what most of these folks would say, especially commercial, they say, let's suspend commercial activities going down to Trinidad. So ships will not come, because once war is declared or once there's disturbance in the region, you want to stay far from it. And you as a commercial person, you as a business person, you don't want your goods get tied up with that, your cargo ship and whatever, because you may have citizens of Venezuela or America on those vessels working, and you know what happened. So once I have American who has a Venezuela, we're not stop that vessel. I mean, you understand what's going on there? So hence the reason why we see there could be a disturbance in trade, there could be a disturbance in just normal tourists moving from point A to point B if this thing escalates. So it's something that we have to keep a close eye on, and the minute you see it coming to a stage, then we had to put things in place to react.
Can we pivot, particularly looking at the gas sector, for example? Trinidad and Tobago would have its ties with Venezuela and some of the gas projects and so on. Is there room to pivot at this moment? And also, what would happen to those projects if this continues to escalate? Because Trinidad and Tobago is making certain stances via our Prime Minister, who's the leader of government.
Well, it's a ticklish thing, but do you know that US companies still operate in Venezuela as we speak? Yeah, Chevron is down there doing the oil thing. Yeah, so all this going on, but the U.S. company is still operating in Venezuela. You understand? So this is why I said you have to be careful of the way when you're dealing with these international politics, because they still operating. The embassies of Trinidad and Tobago High Commission, Venezuela High Commissioner, and all of them, the ambassadors, they all, everything is still operating as per normal, you know.
So is there still room? Well, I'm assuming there's room for Trinidad and Tobago to balance the relationship between, well, their respective relationships with both the U.S. and Venezuela.
But we still go in Caracas, Caribbean Airlines go in Caracas. We still have business in Caracas. My logistics, we do a lot of business going across Caracas. Is a big hub for us. Panama, Caracas is a big hub. And that's where a lot of stuff is happening around those areas. So what's happening in that instance now is that the U.S. government wants Venezuela to change their ways. So nice I put it across.
Yeah.
They want them to change their ways. And we're telling you, listen to me, I don't like what your government doing, especially your president and his cabinet or his close people. And in Venezuela, everybody's militant. So I don't like how they're behaving. So here what happening. You see your finance minister, I'm going to put some sanctions on him. I'm putting some constraint on him for him to change his ways. And that's basically what's happening there with the sanctions, you know. So all the sanctions were meant to let you change your ways and let you change your attitude towards certain things. So you're playing boss? No, I don't want to play no boss. I want to just be a servant. And that's basically what's going on. And it's banter going on between the two countries. Look at Cuba and America. They, again, it's the same thing. They want Cuba to change their ways. So Cuba kind of pull back a little bit and America give them a little leeway. And they pull back a bit and America give them a little leeway. And then anytime they act up again, America pull again. And that's what's happening in Cuba. And you can imagine in Cuba have a US base right there in Cuba. You know, so it's important that you look at these things happening around us and the space.
Mr. Williams, you also mentioned China earlier on in terms of certain allies and some. But if Trinidad and Tobago is not careful, Trinidad and Tobago may run the risk of affecting ties with some of the allies of the opposing territory, whether it be US or Venezuela. What would be your advice in terms of keeping certain relationships in place and secured to ensure that trade continues without interferences?
Well, Trinidad and Tobago is a sovereign country. It stands on its own. But remember, we belong to a group called the CARICOM.
Right.
And we mustn't forget that. The CARICOM is much stronger than Trinidad and Tobago. So I think in all our doing, we must still come together as one CARICOM and treat with the issues, because we all going to be affected in the Caribbean. Don't feel it just Trinidad and Tobago. We all will be affected in the Caribbean. So it's important that we understand that we belong to a group called the CARICOM. Although the CARICOM sometimes is a toothless bulldog in certain instances, which I always felt looked like the single market. We're trying to get CSME for the longest while, and that we can't agree because everybody feel they're bigger than this one. He feel my economy doing better, my dollar is good, and this one said, no, I'm good, I have oil and gas. It's I good, you had to import everything, and that's what's going on, the posturing and going on within CARICOM. So we have to settle down and understand that in order to achieve anything, we had to come together, and that's what the whole CARICOM was really trying to do. So if we come together as a CARICOM, it'll become a force to reckon with instead of we going up individually, because everybody want their own prize. So this one will go and say, I could do this and I could do that. Why we don't say the CARICOM, we can do this and so forth. But so I would believe that let's not just throw away CARICOM. Let's look at CARICOM as well in all our doings. Just keep CARICOM in mind.
Mr. Williams, the Prime Minister said that we have to mind Trinidad and Tobago business. Trinidad and Tobago is dealing with a crime situation for 25 years. And we have to make our stance. And well, I know the Jamaica election occurred. And Andrew Holness, who is the chairman of CARICOM, I guess now, because he is victorious, he was victorious. So probably now CARICOM may have their say in terms of this particular US-Venezuela tension. And seeing that our Prime Minister, Trinidad and Tobago's position is dealing with security, some sort of collaborative effort would take place, and this CARICOM front would intervene soon. Do you anticipate that?
Yeah, I expect that. I expect that. Even in Guyana, Ali, he retained his position in Guyana. And so we've seen what's happening in the region. And again, don't throw CARICOM out the door. It's something, we have been working with CARICOM before. Yes, CARICOM is slow. Sometimes they want to know where they're going to all these heads of government and what really happening. They talk things in CARICOM and then they just do the opposite. You understand? And then some of the things that they pass in CARICOM or talk about in CARICOM, they don't filter down. So the local individual country doing their own thing. And that's another thing too, as we could see with CSME. When someone from other countries coming into Trinidad and Tobago with CSME, the immigration force will say, "Where is that? We ain't know about that, That ain't come through our instructions, so we ain't know about that. So you go back with that, back to your country, and you treat it." That happens, Mr. Cox. So we talking one thing, and sometimes we're doing another. But all in all, let's keep in mind that there is something called the CARICOM, and keep that in mind. Yes, we are a separate country. Yes, we have issues dealing with drugs. Up to yesterday, someone was asking me about that. Yes, we know about crime, and the U.S. decided that they will come down to give some support because of the cartel and all the crime that dealing in the area. But again, yes, we like that. We appreciate the U.S. for coming in and help us, because without the U.S. there, I mean, we ship out of no clothing. But it's important that CARICOM is still there. Because anything we always run into CARICOM, right? Yes, the US is there, but CARICOM is still there. Guyana needs the support of the US, Guyana needs the support of CARICOM, because we belong to an area that we rely on each other. And it's a better conversation going from, let's say, 8 member countries or 9 member countries with a GDP of X and a capital population of Y. That's a better conversation going forward than I just going with my little 1.4 million people. Yeah, no, just because our little oil and gas, I feel are strong or powerful. No, you have your brothers and sisters in the CARICOM that we have been talking and for the last umpteen years. Let's continue that conversation and build a strong CARICOM.
Are we really diversifying the economy, Mr. Williams? And I'm shifting a little bit away from the US-Venezuela situation and looking at our context at the moment. We're heading into our budget very soon, but in terms of diversifying our economy in Trinidad and Tobago, and I mean, yes, the geopolitics would be happening, but we're still supposed to be in a position to pivot. We've been hearing about diversifying the economy, but are we? And what should be the roads that we should take in terms of maximizing our strengths?
Well, in Trinidad and Tobago, the manufacturing and the manufacturing sector is trying their best to treat with it. Even in Tobago, we're trying to develop a manufacturing sector here, small manufacturing. And we have hindrances. We have a lot of hindrances coming out. Even in the Tobago space, we're always talking about shipping. So after you get your finished product to ship, and you can't ship because there's no port. There's no international port here to ship, so you have to go through, again, a third party. I always talk about this third party, right? And even seeking your raw materials. We have the Forex issue, where the banks have just lowered their credit card down to 2005. So you, a small man, was relying on that credit card of 5,000 US. I mean, it happened to me again last week. I'm trying to book a program in the US, and the program was $2,700, $2,578,
yeah.
And the credit card declined.
You're off by 78.
Yes, and it declined. And I calling up the folks in the US. I spent about 45 minutes on the phone trying to tell them, okay, this is the problem in my country. Say, you don't have sufficient money on your card? I said, no, not really. It's because I'm trying to book this thing and I can't get it done. So we had to do it in parts. So I had to go and get a good thing. I had another credit card, so I was able to use it. And this is what happens with small business in operating in Tobago space. We had to try, and sometimes you had to get your neighbor credit card, your husband or wife, boyfriend credit card to help for you to just import stuff. Because we do a lot of reselling in Tobago. We know that. We have a lot of resellers in Tobago. And that's a business, that's a trade, that's part of the commerce happening on the space. But when we have to import, whether online or otherwise, and the restriction is there on the credit card, for small business now, you have to have multiple credit cards with different banks and paying X amount of service charge and paying X amount of... You see how hard it is, Mr. Cox, to do business, small business to operate in Tobago? So we don't have access to the Forex. Because you go to the bank, you only get in $100, $200. You're lucky you may get $1,000 if you cry wolf, right? And that's for business I'm talking about. And you have to wait, and then you'll give you... That don't make any sense. It makes a big issue or not. So what you have to do now, you have to reduce your inventory. So if you used to carry 10 different types of batteries, now you only could carry 2. Because you can't extend your inventory. That's how it was before. And then your supply chain now becomes less. Even some of your suppliers will tell you, well, you know, I mean, I want this and I want... They may give terms. And most of the times the terms is to pay up front. So there's no way you're going to land a goods here from abroad and then have to look to pay and they know you can't pay. So you're having problems. So the manufacturing folks and them need raw material. That thing on the table, they bought a bottle, that plastic, you need to get that. So you have to import that. Some folks import it, some import. There's a little kind of a smaller part of it, like a shell that you put into the machine and it blows up. So you have to import that. And then you have to import other things. And the only option you have remember you used to go direct, so you used to get it cheaper. You now have to go to Trinidad, now a third party now to buy that same thing. Who mark up the thing maybe 300%, 400% on you, and you coming back in the Tobago space now to sell the product. Sometimes the material, the product costs more than the product itself because of where you have to go to get it. So you can't import it like what you used to do before. So now you have to go to Trinidad, who you want to sit down there with a guy now post time because he have the ability to get Forex. How he do, I don't know. But he have it, and you know how to go buy from him and then try to sell back to be competitive in the market in Tobago. And then people say, oh, your price is so high. It's because of the raw material that I had to go and pay by a third party instead of importing it myself, costs more.
But are you seeing, or would you anticipate an acceleration of the manufacturing sector in Tobago? And what is the estimated period you would say for things to be flowing decently from a manufacturing standpoint?
Well, we wanted to push that sector. We, at the Tobago division, we wanted to push that sector, like manufacturing in Tobago. There's a bit of hindrances. Some of these people need factory shells, and we tell them to go down in Cove. We want Cove to open up the thing. Cove make the thing exciting, make it real reasonable for small business to come down there and do business. I know there was some initiative launched recently, but we want to make the thing, you have to open the thing properly because again, in the manufacturing sector, one, you cut down on your import bill. Yeah, you cut down on your food. Yes, you could cut down on your import bill. We could create employment. So the THA had to understand this holistic thing and realize that, hey, if we open up Cove and we get about 10 serious Tobagonians going down there doing manufacturing in different spheres, we now have employment that we create, right? We don't have to depend on this Forex that we're all crying for. The Forex we may need now is mainly to buy equipment coming out of China because most of this stuff come from China in terms of equipment. But with the kind of money that we would have need before to import all these stuff, we don't need, and then we can do our own processing across here. And that's a sector, that's something that the TG could look at. I know it was mentioned to them before, but it must be enabling because the manufacturers in Tobago are not filthy-rich people. They're average people like me and you who will need the support and the enabling of the THE to put them in the place. And then the bankers don't look at us and say, well, he ain't look like he could. No, give us an opportunity. Because the financial institutions sometimes look at you, they assess you, they watch you. Maybe they enter the door, they watch you, he cocks where you from, and he just wasting time. They assess you the minute you hit the door, they ain't look at your papers yet, and they start to assess you. I see that happen in financial institutions. They assess you the minute you crack the door. And they're not even looking at you or even opening your mouth. And you may bring me along with you and say, well, I have the assistance of the chamber with me to guide me, to mentor me through this thing. And they say, nah. They still look at you and say, nah, you ain't able.
Wow.
And that's sad to happen. Our financial institutions need to be a little more open up and need to give Tobagonians the opportunity.
Mr. Williams, as we're talking about giving Tobagonians the opportunity, the chamber is giving persons the opportunity to get involved in the form of a mentorship program that the chamber is doing. Tell us a little bit about that program.
Well, the chamber have launched a mentorship program, which we're trying to get mentors and mentees. There's two relationships we're trying to realize that. We realize that in this space, there are a lot of people into business and you're having challenges and you want to do networking, but our mere meetings is just not enough. So you want expertise in different skill areas. Like I just spoke about logistics. A lot of people just don't know how to do logistics and they said, oh my God, I'm trying to get my product out of Trinidad and Tobago. I just don't know what to do. So you may go into a mentorship session that's dealing with logistics and I could tell you all about logistics and give you all the ins and outs of logistics through those mentors. So that's how the membership program. And then you may have other issues you may have. You may have challenges with financing. You may have challenges with financial institution. And we may have your mentor might be a banker who will be able to assist you in how to assess a business loan, which is a different loan from a commercial, from a normal personal loan, like a car loan. Easy loan. You get that in the snap of your finger. But a business loan is a different loan. And then there are people who want to put together a proposal and they don't know how to put together this business proposal. They tell me, write a business plan. I don't even know what a business plan is about. Your mentor could assist you in putting together that business plan. So your mentor might be someone who's had expertise in business plan. And they may be able to assist you and say, hey, no, you don't do a business plan like that. You have to go this and this. So they assist you. So that whole session, again, is small. It's not large. Sessions is going to be small groups of people with probably 6, and they will be sitting at the chamber office, and where the mentors will be speaking to you via either in person or via the internet. And you will be there at the chamber office gathering all the resources, and they're working with you, bringing the business from one stage to the next stage, or even may have crisis in your business and they don't know what to do, assisting you with the crisis you have in your business.
Is there a cost attached?
Free.
Ways.
Free. Total free. This is what the Tobago division is doing for the business people on the island. And you don't have to be a member. You don't have to be a member of the chamber. It is free for everyone who want to be in business, who in business, or who was coming out of business and they want to go back because you feel, well, yes, there's a breath here. The chamber is offering this. The Tobago division is offering this totally free.
And it can be services. It can be if you're retailing.
Yes, you have the various topics. And if you go online and at our website, tobagochamber.org, you will see where the information is there, and you register, and it is totally free.
Okay, fantastic. Totally free. And of course, just repeat the page that they can go to register.
Yes, tobagochamber.org. All right, you go up onto the page, and it will guide you throughout the whole, or you can call our number at 639-2669. All right, 639-2669. Speak to our secretary at the office, and she will guide you through the page and doing all the registration for both mentor and mentees. So the both persons could register, because you go up now, we're going to scrutinize you. So you go on, we kind of pre-check you to make sure you're legit and all this stuff, and then you go, and then we go into these sessions.
Fantastic. 639-2669. Mr. Williams, I noticed that bit by bit we're getting some ministers coming over to the island to have certain conversations with the secretaries and so on. I know that the chamber would have been involved in some high-profile meetings. What is the latest in terms of the collaboration with, I would say, the Ministry of Trade? Is Trade, Investment and Tourism now?
Yes. And I mean, you just spoke about it last week in our management meeting. We was now thinking of inviting the Minister of Trade to Tobago, and it's time. I think he have settled by now. We see different parties meeting with him. He's the tourism minister as well, and Tobago being a big stakeholder in that. And I think it's important that that we do get the Minister of Trade and Tourism in Tobago. We could sit and chat whether the THA going to be involved in our conversation or just private sector. But it's important that the Tobago division get the Minister of Trade in Tobago. So, Minister, if you're listening to us, I know you will have your people telling you what's going on in Tobago. The Tobago division will be soon writing you for you to come across to Tobago so we can have a conversation on what's happening, because tourism is an important stake in Tobago. Without tourism, we will have a lot of issues going down the road. So we know it's important, and again, you merge it with trade. Excellent. And you've been a businessman, so it's better yet he understands.
It's Sasha Cosmetics, right?
Yes, I met him before. And he understands what's happening in trade. He understands what's happening in tourism. Because to take Sasha from Trinidad to Tobago to carry it on the world market wasn't an easy thing. So he understands it, and that's what makes it better, effective. So we're hoping that the minister do come across and we have a conversation with him, because there's a lot of things we want to share with him and how Tobago can benefit from all that's happening in this space. We know funds is limited. We know the oil and gas is disappearing. But again, we could rely on other things, which is trade. We could rely on light manufacturing. We could rely on other sectors that could help us boost our GDP.
What is happening with the airport, Mr. Williams?
Well, we all waiting with bated breath. They said that something's going to happen this month, whether it's going to be handed over to the Ministry of Works. Transport Minister, saying, well, hey, I ain't know yet. But we're waiting on the Prime Minister to see, well, at the stage where the contractors have to hand it over to the Ministry of Works, who is the one directly responsible for it, right? It's Works or Transport? Transport. So when it's handed over from them, then we will have an idea what's going on. The building is there. I see the cement plant going, so I know something is going to happen soon. I always talk about the cement plant. So the cement plant is gone, and I see some paving is going on, and something is happening soon. And it's a beautiful airport, and I really wanted. I thought it would have been open for the summer, so we're looking for the Tobago Carnival maybe it open, But it would be so exciting to have that airport open at a grand time when we're going into October, when the excitement is there building up for the Tobago Carnival.
Fantastic. Well, we're hoping to, We're really hoping. But we'll see how things transpire. And I want to thank you very much for being with us this morning. Any parting words as we close this morning session?
Yeah, definitely, Dave. So I just want to appeal to all business owners, folks who are interested in business, that the Chamber is there to assist you with the Tobago division. We have the mentorship program. It's something new. It never been done in the space. We have a lot of businesses crying that they don't get support. So here, we as a business community, we as a Tobago division, responsible people decided that, hey, we're going to hold your hand, we're going to help you. So please get in touch with us. We're there to assist you in all aspects of business, and come speak to us. We will be there to move you forward.
Fantastic, of course. Mr. Curtis Williams, always having the conversations with us right here on Rise and Shine. We can say safely that you're one of our resident commentators, giving that business perspective. And of course, he's representing the Tobago division of the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce. Mr. Curtis Williams, thank you for being with us